Welcome to another special episode of Voices of Arda. We will be here discussing our reactions to The Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, episode 5. There will be spoilers, so if you haven't managed to watch it yet, please go do that before you listen to this episode. I have three wonderful and very enthusiastic guests here with me. We have Meeks, Jeff, and Tyler. I will let everybody introduce themselves, tell me and our listeners where we can find you on social media or anything really at all that you want to promote. We will start with Meeks.
Hello, my name is Meegs. I go by Fangirl Meegs on all social media. I'm biggest on TikTok. That's where I spend most of my energy, but you can also find me on Instagram. And I have been a Lord of the Rings fan for forever, and I'm really excited to be on this podcast. So thank you for the invite.
Yay, thank you. Tyler.
Hello, I'm Tyler. I am I guess mostly on YouTube or in the con scene in Southern California, where I run unnecessary debates like at Comic-Con, WonderCon, and a bunch of other usually like 20 conventions a year. And I also host Most Extreme Making Challenge on YouTube. I am new to TikTok, so I'm trying to get on that. I'm trying to get used to it. I'm having, it's rough, but I'm trying. Yeah. Oh, and I've been a fan of Lord of the Rings since the movies. And I just fell in love with it. And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Jeff.
Well, it's debatable. I'm Jeff. I'm not really on social media much. I'm just basically in the deep annals of the internet, I guess you'd say. Retired extra child actor. Just living in Utah, living my best life, I guess. I'm just love the community for Lord of the Rings. I've been a fan since junior high school. Watched the cartoons as a kid, read the books in junior high and high school, and yeah, everything Tolkien's great for me.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Loving the positivity here. I'm looking forward to getting into this episode. We will start with the Harfoots. Anybody have any particularly burning thoughts on the Harfoots to start us off? You don't have to raise your hand, Tyler. You can you can just go for it.
I love the Harfoots. They're actually, I think, my favorite part of the show. I just love seeing new ideas, and also the fact, like, out of all we know about this work and this whole like world, seeing the hobbits before they're the hobbits is, to me, is like so fascinating, and they're so innocent and perfect. I love it so much. I mean, they're horrible at the same time, because they'll be like, oh, you brought this thing in here, you're banished, like, go in the back, you're broke, your foot's broken, that's your fault. Like, that's horrible. And like, and like, not but they're still innocent and like and everything. And it's just kind of cool seeing how they are, and seeing a lot of just similar characteristics, but also the fact that they are still it focuses on somebody who is still trustworthy of a giant when they shouldn't be. And I love, yeah, I love like the similarities of just constant things that happen with Tolkien, especially with how I and a lot of other people got into Tolkien with either The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or just the movies. And so, or even the animated movies, like a lot of us were just introduced, or almost everybody was introduced by the Hobbits. And now we get the Hobbits that aren't really the Hobbits, but they fall under that same little tropes. And I love it.
Yeah, it seems like people either love them or hate them.
Yeah.
Like, there doesn't seem to be like a lot of middle ground for our Harfoot friends, but I love them. And personally, I'm surprised by them also. But I like that they're realistic, in how they are with nomadic life, because nomadic life is hard. This isn't the comfy party tent area of the Shire. This is a different time. Although I was Malva taking the wheels was pretty brutal. Oh my gosh. Like, lady, out there, that's like, it's one thing to sort of maybe not take on extra responsibilities for another family or an injured member, but to like take their wheels is actually murdering them out there, right? Like that's whoo, that's extreme. But then I think in the next episode or in future ones, I think we'll have a change of attitude towards the stranger, hopefully. And
Yeah.
yeah. I really thought that Nori was going to be my favorite little hobbit, but Poppy has stolen all of my feels, like my happiness and my sadness and all of it and everything in between. And her song this episode was just like I have it that stuck in my head. And every time someone mentions it, I just start like do 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 do. So yeah, I love that the episode started there and it was yeah, Meeks, any sort of like love or
Yeah,
hate the hobbits, the
I
Harfoots.
love them so much. So I work in special education and I also work with students learning English as a second language. So at the beginning there, when
Oh.
Nori is just like babbling to him, I'm like, girl, slow down. He does not know big words like peril. Use some examples, use some gestures, multiple modalities. Come on. She's going on and on about like the foods at the grove and like here are all these dangers. And I'm like, this poor man, like, give him a break. Come on, girl.
He's still
But
getting
yes,
he's still getting over the fact of the firefly. It's like he's just like,
Oh, that broke my
He's-
heart.
he's a little traumatized. But I also want to say I loved the moment when after she had run off, he was still repeating to himself, I am good. And I was just like, he's trying. He's trying, which we see kind of later in the episode. Like, I guess a contrast to that, like he didn't intentionally mean to hurt her. However, we'll see how this plays out in the next couple episodes. Like, how does she react? She runs away at first, but will they fix this friendship that they have? Or
Yeah, they've worked so hard on it, right? And so yeah,
And
hopefully.
one of the things that is kind of weird for me is we don't know how much time is passing for all the
Yeah.
with the different people, but the contrast for me is really weird because I mean like you got the Southlands, they're dealing with orc attacks and all preparing for survival, and you've got Numenor and they're preparing to go protect war and all these political machinations, and then there's just the hobbits, and their just life is very simple. They sing a song while they travel across and you got them traveling through swamps and traveling through all these different things. And then something that came to mind when you mentioned Malva and taking their wheels, we see a little bit of that. It's not uncommon, I guess you could say, because when we know Smeagol, who's obviously a very bad person, acts up, they kind of shun him and kick him out of their kind of family and kind of gathering. So I mean, it's not out of I guess it's not out of the ordinary for them to be that harsh, I guess you could say.
Yeah, no, if you like, even if you look at the hobbits of the Shire that we know, they can be brutal.
Yeah.
Like they can be mean to each other. And if anyone's different or whatever, they tend to shun them and then, call them, the queer folk over there and the queer folk over here, and everyone's referring to each other as like, oh, don't go there, don't talk to them. So it's not that far of a, it's not that off from the
Yeah.
hobbits that we know
Yeah.
anyway.
I mean, didn't like a
Um,
lot of people, I mean, didn't like most of the hobbits like look down on Bilbo for trusting Gandalf even at
yeah,
all?
for
And
being
like,
different and going on
yeah.
adventures and like, yeah. And when he came
But yeah,
back,
I
they were
mean,
just selling all his shit. Brutal.
Oh, well, he's dead.
Yeah, he's
yeah,
gone. Who wants his stuff?
and at the same time, we see that Hobbit resilience, because I mean, obviously the Hobbits are we talk about them being very resilient and then like resilient to the ring, but I mean Poppy, we've a couple episodes ago we hear her family was part of the Book of the Lost or whatever it was called, and she's still persevering and carrying on her family traditions of her mother's song and keeping them with her. And then even Nori's dad, who they're at the back, his foot's broken, but he still seems pretty chipper and cheery. And they're just so while they might not have like world changing things going on, like they're not dealing with an orc attack, but for them, just making it from one place to the next destination is a huge thing for them, and it's great to see the difference.
Yeah, and the song pointed out too. Like my legs are so little, but I must go on, and I identify with that. I'm 4'11", so the whole song was just now my anthem. I'm gonna make it my ringtone. Just that on loop. My legs are so little. My legs are so little. I'm just gonna do that.
Yes, I'm 5'1", so
Oh,
more
yay!
people unite.
Yes. Who got like taken in by the jump scare in the wolf attack?
Oh, yeah.
I did so much, and I thought they did it so well, and yeah, I wasn't expecting it, and it got me good,
Yeah, I had
Uh,
a feeling something was gonna happen with kind of the cliche, one character goes off on their own, and so I thought something might happen, but I wasn't expecting wolves. So yeah, it was definitely a very sudden change from picking shortcut to mushrooms to wolf attack.
Yeah.
yeah. Although I like, do the wolves look weird to anyone else? Or am I being picky here? Like they got weird snouts I don't know. There's just something very weird and square about them.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a different stylistic choice, which is weird when you think about how obviously there's I don't know if there's copyright stuff, but when you look at the Balrog, and the Balrog looks very similar to the Peter Jackson Balrog, but the wolves look very different from even the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings. So it's definitely different. I think people get kind of like going on the same topic of the elves with long hair. We get used to seeing our wolves and our creatures a very certain way, and when we see something different, but yes, it does look weird, but it's also different. So
Yeah.
yeah. Now
Are
seeing a
you
picture,
seeing
I
the
guess.
picture now, Tyler?
Yeah. I think maybe as somebody who just like loves Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm like any creature that looks completely weird, I'm totally cool with,
Oh,
because I've seen weirder.
yeah,
I mean, they still freaked me out, so I was just like, "Ooh, they're spooky," and then I didn't think any further than that.
yeah.
I've what did my D&D group call me, a real life druid or something like that? You would know, Jeff. We're in D&D together. I'm a druid. That's what I am, right? That's the animal one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're definitely a druid like, yeah.
Druid's the
Yeah,
best.
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
best class.
So I'm all about the animals. Like my most popular video on TikTok is just a compilation of me talking about the danger puppies of Rings of Power. So that'll tell you where I'm at. Yeah. Yeah, and then I guess the last really scene with them is the stranger healing himself, right? That's what he was doing, or trying at least to do with the water and the ice magic or the freezing. It was
Yeah.
really hard to like for me to like tell exactly. I mean, I don't even think the stranger exactly knew what he was doing. So if he didn't know, then how am I supposed to know?
Yeah, and kind of like that contrast, like we were talking about, like, he's good, he's trying to tell us that over and over again, and then we see these glimpses of him not like in the fireflies, the ice. He just
Yeah.
doesn't understand the world in his what he can do and his capabilities. And while I did mention how the hobbits, or the Harfoots, or whatever you want to call them, are very, very on their own, and they're just doing their whole survival thing. That's probably going to change coming up here, because we got these three very, very menacing looking people on their trail. So who knows what's going to happen with our giant friend and his
Yeah.
Yeah, will they
Harfoots.
catch up? Those are pretty, because it feels like the Harfoots have traveled quite a distance at this point. I mean, again, timelines in this, like we don't know when the cultists found the meteor site versus like like where all that happens, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's gonna happen? Are they gonna catch up?
I have a question though. How do you guys feel about that? I for one kind of wish they would put dates into the show. I had the biggest issue with Witcher season 1, and I refused to watch Witcher season 2 because I genuinely had no idea what was happening in that show because the editing was all over the place, and they casted people who looked very similar to each other, so it was very hard for me to tell who was who on a lot of those characters. Like like everybody had like the same blonde wig and like the same like facial structure, so then it'll be like, oh, I'm this person, and then, oh no, that was my daughter, and you're like, you're not the same character. Oh, okay, wait. But with this now, I have like not so much because everybody looks so amazing, and there's, I feel like, I mean, obviously bigger budget and better costuming department and wardrobe department, but now it's like it is getting a little distracting as to trying to figure out when and where it is, not even to where each story is, just where the one story is, and that's my biggest pet peeve with the show, honestly.
I
Yeah, and
did see someone give a theory that like the 3 wolves were the 3 people in white, and I was like, wait, but we just had that scene, so how could that be? But like you said, with no dates, maybe it is. Maybe they saw the crater like way earlier in the timeline. We just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to do like a whole Star Trek thing. Like every episode starts with like,
Star date.
yeah. Middle Earth date, blah, 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 blah. Like, but like it would a little bit, it would be nice.
So a couple things for that. I mean, yes, I think it would be, it kind of does. It is, I think it's just kind of the story mode that they chose to tell was with it jumping from one place, Numenor to the Harfoots to the Southlands to Linden. And so I think that's part of the problem is that we're jumping from different places. So we don't really know how the timeline goes, but also there are theories that I don't think it's true, but there are theories that there's multiple timelines going on, so they're not all in the same time going on. So that could be why they're not giving us dates, is because that's one theory of why they're not giving us dates, because if they gave us dates, we'd be able to then know that they're not taking place at the same time. So
I completely misinterpreted you because maybe I watched Loki too recently, but when I hear timelines, I think multiverses, and I was like, no, it's not where he's going. It's not where he's going.
Yeah, so the timelines thing has a lot of people guessing and a lot of discussion about it, a lot of disagreement about it, which is, I mean, to me, very entertaining. But I, like everybody else, we're just gonna have to wait and see what they're doing with us, and that's awesome because it has like casual fans and like hardcore lore masters alike guessing, and if the show can do that, that's awesome. Like, power to it. Yeah. Yeah. All right, so unless anybody has anything else to add about the Harfoots, we will move on to discussion of the Southland scenes.
I don't like
Yes,
Malva, but we'll leave it at that. Malva's not a good person for me.
I think we're in agreement. Yeah. Yeah, but I hope she has a big attitude change after this last episode.
Yeah, we'll
So
see.
We'll see. Yeah, so then we move on to the Southlands, and we have, what do we start with? Bronwyn sort of mobilizing or trying to mobilize the people, and we have Waldrig, the old guy, being just a complete asshole and ruining that.
He seemed really level-headed. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
no,
I
I'm
wrote down. I wrote down that Bronwyn is operating from a place of hope, but Waldrig is operating from a place of fear and cowardice.
Excellent note. Yeah, this is exactly what he's doing. His line though was so funny, where he's when he's talking to Adad, and he's like, I'll serve you Sauron.
Yeah.
And of course Adad gets very angry, and is clearly not him, or at least not him judging by his reaction. And then Waldrick just says what like what I could see, like everybody who's watching this show is thinking, is like, are you not Sauron? I was like, that is the line. That is, yeah. So, was anybody disappointed?
Well, I like they introduce the character and everyone's like, I don't see myself. I hate this character. He's not relatable. And then he says that and you're like, crap. Like maybe he's relatable.
Yeah, like Meek said, I think that he definitely has that kind of like persona of, I'm just gonna kind of latch onto the biggest person in the room to protect me, and I don't care what I have to do to kind of survive. So he's got a survival mentality, but also it's a very cowardly one where he's just not willing to um kind of do what needs to be done to kind of, he doesn't have very strong I guess moral reasons or kind of way uh, inside code of ethics to kind of help him kind of see do what he needs to do to kind of be a better person.
Yeah, him like having the choice of like, oh, are you going to show loyalty to these orcs and Adar by unaliving this small
Teenager.
child? I mean, he's an annoying child, but like that
He
was wild.
so pitiable in the end, though. But we agree that he killed him. Do we? Right? I mean,
it
didn't
was
show
fade
it.
to black, but it's yeah. I mean, it was.
Yeah, I think
There's always that you didn't see them die on screen, so they might not be dead. But
Yeah, right.
I
There's
think
that theory floating around, like, oh, maybe Waldrick didn't do it. Maybe he kills himself instead. I'm like, nah. He had that look in his eye. There wasn't like any sense of, yeah, as you say, Jeff, moral high ground. He wasn't he wasn't that guy. He's
fortitude.
not that dude. He's not that dude. So,
No.
that kid is gonna end up being Sauron, and everybody's gonna be like, we're all like pointing fingers. We're like, this guy's Mephisto.
Rowan.
No, this guy's Mephisto. This guy's Mephisto. And it's like, no, the kid was all along.
Wow.
Maybe that's what happens
That's
off
a theory.
screen.
I mean,
Oh
like,
my
it's-
goodness.
I'm about to get a letter from Amazon. They're like, how did you know? No, just kidding.
Can anybody hear Tyler? I can't hear Tyler anymore. What happened? Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Cease and desist. But
Southlands. Yeah.
Yeah, the Southlands. There's a lot that goes on. I mean, like it's kind of, it's only an hour show, but we don't know how much time is passing. But we got the deserters who go and join, Adar and the orcs, and we don't. But then we also have, like, beginning of the episode, we have Bronwyn being, place of hope. We can defend, and then it seems like at the end, after the revelation of what her son has with this sword hilt and the kind of looking like a sacrificial ritual that's on the wall of that tower, she kind of gives into her despair, and Arondir has to kind of give her the pep talk of, he has to be or Samwise and give him the pep talk, or Aragorn, and then I will die with them kind of thing. So
I really loved Arondir teaching Theo and like giving him a little pep talk as well. I think I saw this on Twitter first, so it doesn't come from me, but someone compared him and Theo, Arondir and Theo, and Aragorn with the little guy in Helm's Deep when he was trying to, right? Like the parallels there of just being kind of a mentor figure, being encouraging, and just connecting with a little guy. And I loved that so much. I love that Theo chose to trust him and eventually, did show him the sword hilt key thing. And I just feel like I just love Arondir so much.
Well, I think in that kind of moment, because these, the Southlanders, they've taken the elves as their watchmen, they're watchdogs, kind of watching them for all this time, so they kind of resent them. And so he even says, why are you still here? And Arondir does have that Aragorn look of, we're all gonna die. Well, I'm here because half of you stayed, and so I'm gonna stay with you guys. And so raise your aim, raise it, and let's fight this together. And so he does trust him, because okay, maybe Arondir's not this guy that's just here to be our jailer and our watcher. He's actually does care. So hey, here's this cool thing I found. Not cool, but cool.
Yeah, no, this episode was the first time that I've felt not just okay, but good about Theo. Like
Mm,
I was very worried about him, and everyone's like, oh, he's gonna be a Nazgul. He's gonna be a Nazgul. He's bad. He has bad intentions. And then finally, this episode, I didn't feel like that. But now I'm very worried about Bronwyn. She seems very just in a very desperate place, and bad
mm,
decisions inevitably follow when you're in a desperate place like that, as we started to see with her despairing rather quickly at the thought of I mean, fair enough though, at the thought of an army of orcs just coming for you. I mean, I don't know what decisions I would be making in that position.
And as a mother too, like knowing that they are after her son.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worried about Bronwyn, but
And remember, we don't like we the audience know what happened to Waldring and the people that went to swear fealty to Adar, but Bronwyn doesn't know that. Bronwyn's just like, if
mm.
I can save my son from this slaughter, I'm gonna, like, let's go out. This is what we are. Like maybe this is all we're meant to be. And so like she's trying to survive. But yeah, it's a very bleak time for them, and
a bleak
it'll be
time and a
interesting what
bleak
happens.
time and an already bleak time
Mhm.
for them. So as you very aptly put it, Jeff, we have happening in Southlands like a clear separation now of sort of deserters and people who are going to try and fight. Numenor, we have now we're seeing the separation between the kings, what do they call them, the kingsmen and
Faithful.
the faithful.
Mm.
Yes, I am loving the Numenor scenes. Visually just stunning, colorful and vibrant. Um, Such a shame. But I can't help but keep thinking that when I'm
We
looking
did
at
say
how beautiful
spoilers,
everything
so
Yeah.
is. I'm like, wow, everything's so nice. Be a shame if anything bad happened to this beautiful city. Be a shame if anything happened to that amazing library that you guys have got going on over there, full of priceless and irreplaceable and probably uncopied texts.
well, yeah, I mean, and not only that, but like we see it with Farazan, all the guild medallions he has. So it's obviously a place of the very 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 sophisticated and technologically advanced as you can be. So they're very the high, like, as an Atlantean, since that's the comparison we're making, as Atlantean as it can be to the rest to Middle Earth and the rest of the world, they are that they are they have the biggest army, they have the ships, they have the weaponry, they have all of it. And so like you said, the impending doom is kind of hanging over them. That scythe of doom is hanging over them, but we know that, and Muriel has like glimpses of that, and we think Palantir obviously knows something is going to happen, but for the most part, the people just want to live their lives and
Mm.
kind of be isolationist on their little island that they think is the best place in the world.
So, Fatazon, love or hate, Jeff?
I mean, as a character, he's doing the actor and the writing is doing a great job portraying him as this very very he's not cliche. He's not the mustache twirling villain. He's very 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 savvy, and he seems very very politically motivated to kind of pull the strings. So it's very very well done in that part where you definitely love to hate him, but I think it's
Yeah.
going to get worse as it goes on. That you're going to realize that this guy is the worst person imaginable, even though he comes off as this guy who's trying to unite the people. Like so it's very well done. So I do not like him, but I like the way the character is being portrayed.
He's quickly turning into Umbridge.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I haven't made that connection yet, but that's one way
I
to
was
look.
just saying,
Yeah,
like the love, the hate thing, and you're just like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
man.
No, okay, gotcha. Yes, yes. Umbridge is definitely
I-
the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
Meeks.
I wrote down, he's a slimy, gross man, and I don't like him. So, but if
I
you
think-
want like some deeper thoughts about him, I did write like his line of, when all this has ended, elves will take orders from us. I was just thinking about, like, why is it always power and like oppressing others and forcing others to do your bidding, and like, I don't know, forcing that power on someone else? Like, why is it always that with these powerful men who just want more and want to remain in power? And like the whole, having a king in our debt, and like all of it, just, ooh, I just don't like him. So that's what brought me to my conclusion of slimy, gross man, and I don't like him.
So
Yeah,
perfect.
and I mean, we know who Farazan is, as the audience, but Aarian, she has a great role model in we don't know Anarian yet, but we know Elendil is this upstanding, awesome person, and she has this great father figure to look forward to, but she's even taken in by this slimy, no good man that we all hate, but she trusts him, and she's like, no, we talk to him, he can stop this.
Mm.
But we know that he's not that. So it'll be interesting to see how, if she kind of goes all in her support of Farazan, or if she finally realizes that it's not the best place to be.
I felt betrayed by her, because I was like, oh, she's my little girl. Like, she's my one character that, like, may not be, she's not Galadriel, she's not Bronwyn, but she's like, I love her. I love seeing her when she shows up. She's so cool. And then I was like, no, girl, you cannot be anti-Galadriel. You cannot be anti helping the people of Middle Earth. What are you doing? But then also seeing her face at the very end, skipping a little bit here, just to mention her face at the very end, watching her brother and her father go off to war and not knowing what would happen to them. Just like that, the pain in her expression, wonderful acting. I was like, okay, maybe her take makes sense a little bit, but I don't like it. I still don't like it, but I'm understanding where she's coming from, maybe.
Yeah, her motivation of why she's supporting Farazan might make sense from that, like, not wanting to go to war, not wanting her family to go and help these people that are strangers to them. That, like Kevin says, why do we care about these low-born men in the South that we're going to go? Why are we going to help elves? This is ridiculous. So she's not like always like Kemen, but they have kind of the same, not reasoning, but the same kind of thoughts going into why they don't want to go, to leave, because they don't see the point of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin
Anybody's
and
thought?
his
What's everybody's
little
thoughts on Kemen?
little stunty stunt there, mister. That was bold. It was dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we, not to make real world comparisons, but we do know there are people who are anti-war, who do terrible things to to try and stop what they think are even more terrible things from happening. But it just seems like he didn't think through, like, I can't get to where you go from, hey, we need to stop this, to, I'm gonna blow up all the ships so they can't do this. It's not sane. It's not it's not a good look. So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting.
Jack Sparrow did much better, I think.
He definitely had more flair, and he didn't hit his head on the swinging boom thing on his way out, for goodness sake. My dude, like, at that
Yeah.
point, just leave him there for that. Come on, you're on a ship.
Literally, I was like,
Expect things to be flying around. Come on.
why?
God.
My question was, Isildur, why did you save him? First off, I mean, okay, he's a good a good person, like, I guess. But then secondly, why did he lie about finding him? Or why didn't he turn him in? Like, what was his motivation there if he was going to save him?
It would have been
But then-
so bad for Kemen if he turned him in, though. It would have been
Literally-
so bad.
Well, I
like,
mean, and obviously it's a lot less of what Kevin did, but he was stowing away on a ship and he was somewhere where he should not have been. And
Mm.
so people who are not innocent sometimes aren't willing to kind of confess their wrongdoings, even if that means protecting someone that might be even more in the wrong.
and
So I mean
also like
there's
he has
that.
so much information that like if the guy even like basically, yeah, if Kemen basically does change his tune, he's like, yeah, you know what, I messed up, and like he won't do it like because they both know everything,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of like they're stuck. And
But even at the end you see Isildur kind of reach over and he's trying to make sure that Kevin's all right, and Kevin like shrugs him off like he's not a good
No, he's not. He's
he's
not
not
going in the right
appreciative of all
direction.
at all of what Isildur did.
Right. I mean, if Isildur wanted to save his own skin, he could have been like, oh, I saw him sneaking around, so I went to
yeah,
go investigate, and then he would
Yeah.
get his spot on the ship and all that. So I'm
Mhm.
surprised by him. I'm like, why did you
Yeah.
do that? You should have turned him
you could have been the
Definitely one of
hero.
those things where we were all shouting for him to turn him in, but at the same time, Kemen doesn't seem overtly evil like his father yet. Where he's willing to go to extremes. He's not. I don't know. They're kind of playing him as this like morally gray person. Like I I don't know. He's an interesting character.
And to
Yeah,
put my
he's
druid
kind
hat on again, there were horses on those ships.
Yeah, there were.
There were
mm,
definitely horses on those ships, and Kemen did not care about those horses, and that
No,
makes me upset.
you're right. But I think at the same time, if he does turn him in, like Callie says, kind of for sake of the story kind of thing. If he turns him in, that's basically all we get of Kemen. We're not going to see Kemen anymore forever, and that's kind of the end of his story. So I guess the answer is because the plot needs him alive still. I don't
yeah,
know.
he needs conflict to stay relevant to the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
Plus, he kind of owes Isildur now, so maybe that'll play a factor into it later.
Oh yeah, I hope.
Sorry, I was being mad about the horses, and I interrupted your thought, Tyler.
I forgot what I was gonna say. ADHD.
Yay. Well, on to then my favorite scene. It's hard to pick like one favorite, but I think it was Galadriel teaching the little army, the trainees to fight. The pure joy on her face when she is fighting. Like I was just happy to see that was joy for me.
She's
Migs,
amazing.
you're cheering over there.
in. Oh my gosh,
Guessing.
same. Same. It was definitely my favorite. Like, she is graceful. She is just like, her movements are flowing, and she's kind of confident in the like when she smacked the one guy with her sword, and just like when she
Yeah.
had both swords in her hands, I was like, you are the coolest being in the whole planet, in the whole galaxy. I don't know. I was just like, I'm obsessed with this, all of it, and I love her so much, and it was so great. It was so cool. I loved it.
Yeah, I
Yes.
agree. The whole thing was pretty awesome to see. And even as she's going, she's stopping to give them little pointers. You're like, don't stay in one place long. Don't plant roots. Keep moving. So she's even taking the time to like. It wasn't just a hey, I'm a badass kind of scene. It was mostly.
Mm.
It was definitely a teaching moment that she did her best to kind of teach them in real time, let them know that they're in over their heads, but here's how you can improve, kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
Plus it
I
looked
love
really
I love the actress so much. I think she's just unbelievable. I think she oh my gosh. And I love like everything you guys are saying is like it's just like the whole time I'm just every time she's on screen, I just get like so happy, and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait to see like what's gonna unfold. As much as I love the Harfoots, like I said earlier, but like Galadriel for me is like she's the center of the show for me. And like I love everything and I love how they're taking care of this character so much too. But yeah, we get to see so many sides of her that we didn't get to see in 6 movies.
Yeah.
Well, and
So
it's really disheartening to see, like, because I mean, like, like I scroll TikTok, I go on, message boards and stuff, and for a lot of people, a lot of the comments I see are, "Oh, Galadriel's the worst part of the show for me. This is the, this is the part I don't care about," and it's just like, I always try and give people the benefit of the doubt and say that it's not what it is, but at the same time, you do wonder if there's a little bit of that of, if this were Legolas or someone doing these awesome things, would they be that upset that he was that they were doing these things and being this, this character development? It just, you got to wonder.
yeah, I agree. Actually, like, I mean, look at how much oh my god, why am I forgetting her name from the Hobbit movies? Like, they were just freaking out
Oh, Tario.
about
Talia.
yes, Tariel. Yeah, I actually like Tariel a lot. I mean, I hated like they had to make a love interest for no reason whatsoever. I was like, I was hoping that they would like continue her story, that they would make like another movie that would bridge in between the two trilogies, but we never got it. But like, yeah, I agree. Like, I think just because of unfortunate
Be right back.
mindsets, yeah, I think it's just gonna be rough for some people, and it's not fair. Like, but yeah, I don't know how to say her name, but Mrs. Clark or Miss Clark, I don't know. I shouldn't assume. You're the greatest. You're awesome.
Oh,
Go you.
Morpheus. Yeah.
Is that how you say it? Morpheus? Oh my god, that's such a cool name. I'm looking at it. I'm
Yeah.
like, man, that is a cool name that I am not gonna try.
Yeah, no, she just is killing all of her scenes. And we got a full emotional range from the pure joy of the fighting to the sadness when she's talking about her brother.
Yes.
And
that's right, I
that
forgot
was
about
really good to see as well, I thought.
That's right.
To like get a little break in her veneer and and see what's going on underneath. Like, and that elves have these emotions and they feel sorrow and anger and tempest, which which she keeps coming back to.
Yeah, and I mean, she's being driven by grief, so much. So I mean, like, it's not vengeance. It's, she doesn't know, like she said, like she, the scene between her and Halbrand in that workshop, it didn't. I don't feel like it moved me as much as I think it should have. But that might have just been me being distracted, and I didn't pick up on it. But also, you can see the second time around I watched it, and you can see that she is, the guy has his internal struggle. Like, she knows that she shouldn't be doing some of these things, but she has to keep going because she feels, loyalty to her brother, and this grief of loss, and not wanting other people to experience it either. And it's just trying to get everyone around her to take this threat seriously. And so, yes, while she is being a little more headstrong than some people might like, it's because everybody else is like, it's when you know that something bad is happening and you're trying to get everybody else, and you're shouting it from the rooftops and no one's listening, you're gonna be frustrated, and you're gonna be a
Yeah.
little forceful with it.
Ooh, well said.
Yeah. I thought it was so powerful. Just, I mean, honestly, I was kind of anti Halbrand for making her cry, for like forcing her to give him like the emotional reason. Like, he wanted that from her. He was like trying to draw that out. Like, give me a reason. And I was like, bro, why are you making her do this? Like, hello? Okay. But I don't know. I just, the line when she said like about, I think Elrond and the High King, like they could no longer distinguish me from the evil I was fighting. Like, wow. And just, you can like see the tear tracks down her face in the like lighting from the scene. And then when he says sorry and she says the like, your sorrow will not ease my pain. Like,
Yeah.
no lasting peace on any path but that which lies across the sea. She is like, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. I really need you to come with me. And if you're going to make me pour my heart out, then I'm going to use that. And I'm going to try and get you on my side here. And
Well,
yeah,
not
it
only
was
that, but like,
powerful.
yeah, no, I agree. Great. And I think that, like, even with that being said, like, she's been on this path for so long, and to have her men mutiny against her, to have one of her closest friends doubt her, to have her king even doubt her, you have to wonder, has she doubted herself at all? And she in that moment when she's talking to Halbrand, that kind of comes out where she's like, am I on the right path? I don't know, but all I have is I can go forward. I have to keep going forward. I have to see this to the end. And so like when they're seeing her as a monster, you have to kind of be introspective and say, am I a monster? And I don't think she is, but she's very isolated, very alone, and she's just trying to find someone that can be her companion and help her to see this through. And I think that's why she's trying to be so forceful with Halbrand, because she sees so much more in him than just this guy that wants to slum it as a blacksmith's apprentice.
Or just like whatever to get by. But
Yeah.
I think that shows a lot of strength with her as well, because again, she's so driven and like she knows the end, and like, but she's still able to doubt and to be able to adapt, and that's a very strong thing about her character. And I just love the fact that we get to see emotion behind it, as opposed to where a lot of the times we see, especially in fantasy, unfortunately, is a lot of just kind of like stale, like, you know, be like, I have an end game and whatever happens. But with her, it's like, no, it's this whole, like everything is like this whole weight of like everything about.
Yeah.
And it's so apparent, and I think written really well. Like, oh God, those like the line, it's amazing. Like you know, like when you sang these lines, and it's just like, wow. Like I just remember the moment, as opposed to not so much the words, and I just need to rewatch it and just pay attention to those words, and it's just like, oh, so good.
Yeah, and I wish we were getting more of that with Halbrand as well. Obviously, we're getting now the kind of the focus is on her, but like we don't know a lot of Halbrand's. Like we know he doesn't. We know where he came from, you know, obviously, because and that scene for me was very, very jarring when it went from him saying, you don't know what I've, you don't know what I've experienced in the Southlands, to then, it went to that scene with them coming into the orc camp. I thought that was him flashing back to that, but it was just a weird transition. But yeah, no,
I think it was
think
intentional.
Yeah.
I think they were doing that to make us all think he did something the same. I don't know if it will end up true, but like I think they intentionally edited it that way so that we're all like, oh, he did something terrible, he's horrible. And maybe that will be true. Maybe he did somehow ally with or surrender to orcs, or maybe not. But I feel like it was intentional.
Well, let's just talk about the Maiar in the room. Everybody thinks he's Sauron. Everybody thinks he's Sauron. That's kind of the most popular theory right now. So this could all be an act that he's putting on to kind of, let everybody think he's a good guy. But at the same time, I think it also it went down to what, it kind of transitioned back to them being, and seeing what they had to go through, because that's what he escaped, and he doesn't want to go back to that. And so for Galadriel, she's like, I need your help, but he's like, please don't ask me to do this. Like, you don't know what I've escaped down there. I finally found somewhere that I can not have to worry about my survival 100% of the time. And she's kind of trying to remind him of, hey, you have this ability to do these things. You need to be able to do it. If you have the ability, you need to do something. Peter Parker kind of thing.
I would want to hear what you have to say, Kali, though.
Yeah, Kali, what do you got? What's going on in that brain?
Yeah. I don't. If I don't know, the whole Halbrand Sauron thing, I don't know. And to be perfectly honest with y'all, I think I'm tired of guessing at this point. My brain, there have been so many theories floating and everyone is guessing, and maybe it's partially my fault for being involved in every single conversation about it. But it's like I don't want to guess anymore. I just want the show to tell me.
Oh, I wasn't speculating either. I don't want to guess
Oh.
either. But I mean, like, would anybody, like, let's say, would anybody be upset if he turned out to be Sauron?
No. At this point, I mean, I wouldn't be upset. If anybody, now if Galadriel was Sauron, then that'd be like a whole different.
And I think that's a disservice to the character, because I think if we were more emotionally tied to Halbrand, and it does turn out that he is he does turn out to be Sauron, it'll be that much more powerful, because you were the chosen one. It was said you were going to help us, kind of thing. But as opposed to just, oh yeah, he's the big bad. We all know it.
I do want to say, I kind of said something earlier about this, but like I never, as a huge geek, I love Tolkien. I love all this stuff. Like I geek out about this probably more than a lot of things, but I'm one of those free for all, like jack of all trade nerds where I'm just, I mean, if you see behind me, there's like so many manga, Pokemon, Muppets, like, but I never in 1,000 years thought that we would get to a point where an entire fan base is like in a guessing game, and it's something where we're all having these amazing conversations as like this, where I feel like the Star Trek community had this a bunch of times because of how they do their shows and books and I mean everything, how much it grows, and then obviously with Marvel with with WandaVision and Mephisto, and I mean everything since then is Mephisto in Marvel, but and like DC is like dark side, dark side, dark side. I just never thought that we would get to this point with Tolkien, and it is so awesome. Like it is so awesome we're having this conversation, and it makes me so happy.
But on the other side of that, I mean, I think I've seen on the other side. I was someone with The Force Awakens. I was kind of not to kind of derail into this, but I read a lot of the expanded universe books, and so when they said, "Oh, none of that counts," I was very much of a not my Star Wars kind of thing. But then when I saw The Force Awakens one time, and having him called Ben really was upsetting to me, because I know Ben Skywalker was a character in the expanded universe. But then I took my nephews to see it too, and they were so enamored with the whole thing, and I was like, okay, maybe I can separate them. I can have expanded universe Star Wars and that. But then also I think that we also saw this divide after J.J. Abrams had all these mysteries set up, and I really hope that like we don't have we have all this suspense right now, but if the payoff isn't there, I think it could be bad. So I hope that they have it.
Granted, hopefully all the writers have a 5-year contract.
They better. It's like if they don't, we're gonna riot. We're gonna storm Amazon wherever they are, and we're gonna riot.
I feel like the Tolkien, yeah. I feel like right now we're in the spot where the mystery suspense is good, but then if it doesn't pay off, we're gonna get a Last Jedi kind of backlash to where everybody hates it because it wasn't a good payoff, and I don't like it because I love the Last Jedi as well.
Except for me.
No,
I love it.
You love it no matter what.
I love the Last Jedi.
It's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Yeah, no, I
I'm also I'm a bigger Trekkie, so it's just like,
oh, it's fine. Yeah, that's okay.
I love the Casino Planet. I'm the only person on this world who loved the Casino Planet. I was like, these are the real villains, and we're not gonna talk about Star Wars anymore. Callie, how's it going?
Yeah, yeah, Callie, what are your final thoughts on Numenor? What are your thoughts on Numenor? You've heard a lot of what we're saying, but what are your
we've monopolized. Tell us your thoughts.
No, well, that is being a host, and yeah, I guess I'm excited to see them go to war. I'm excited to see them land their ships and start to join up with some of the other characters, and hopefully that will help us get a clearer, sort of beat on the timeline. Not sure. So they haven't gone with Numenorians being sort of tall and fair and having that heritage, which I totally understand, because the scaling for that would have been really like expensive and very nitpicky. But I'm interested to see, they're supposed to have much longer lifespans. And so once we see them next to the Southlanders, next to and Halbrand even, who isn't Numenorian, who won't have a longer lifespan, I'm interested to see, if the show keeps that, or if all the humans are kind of just gonna wax and wane at the same time. But
yeah, and I think a lot of us are kind of holding out, getting attached to some of the characters sometimes, because we don't know who's going to be around for multiple seasons and who's not. So
yeah,
it's kind of hard to kind of open our hearts to these people without committing that, without knowing that we're going to be set up for pain. But yeah.
Like I alluded at the beginning of, when I introduced Numenor, and I was like, gee, everything here is so nice. Wouldn't it be a shame? So,
yeah,
the beginning of trying not to get attached, but everything is just so beautiful there.
We didn't really talk about Muriel and like the conversation she had with her father. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kelly?
Yeah, that was interesting and foreboding. More interestingly though is when they, after the burning of the ships, and Galadriel says to Miriel, like, we should still go to war, we have your father's blessing, and Miriel just doesn't say anything. Like, that was, I don't know, that could be
She
very
might have
bad,
been
but
committed at that point. She was like, I'm all in, even though my dad freaked me out a little bit. I'm all in.
yeah. So
Yeah, and it's
so
that's very
sad.
ominous. You know why should I not go? Darkness. You know, all that awaits you there is darkness.
Darkness.
Yeah.
So
And darkness is like, that's the word the Southlanders keep using too, is like, we are darkness. Like, that's in our blood. And so yeah, I very excited to see those two storylines come together.
Mhm.
They are tying a lot of the storylines together. Amazing, like with just little hints like that. That's sorry, I didn't.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Wow.
Fine. Okay, so the last stop on today's journey, Lindon, and either
we could just
people,
end the street. We can just end the cast now, right? I mean,
we don't need to talk about
this.
Mithril. We so I've been calling him Gigi, but for the first time this week I heard the term Gilgachad.
Wow.
And I love it.
I've been calling him Shilgalad.
Shilgalad,
That's kind of just more of a-
Gilgadaddy.
He's not Gilgadaddy, no. No.
Which is hilarious because he's like, I think he's everybody's least favorite character. If
Yeah.
people don't really just hate Fatazon, they are definitely hating Gilgalad right now.
And I think
Yes.
that's yeah. Go on.
With
Yeah.
as someone who doesn't have the background, I read the Silmarillion once as a child. Didn't gain
Same.
much from that. Can't remember a single thing. I like have no memory of who, or I like don't know who this guy is except for seeing him in the show here. And after the way he like manipulated Elrond, I was like, bro,
Yeah.
first off, yeah, earlier in the season, the way you talked to Galadriel, first strike. Now, the way you're manipulating Elrond, actually, I think that counts as 3. You're out. I don't like him. I don't like how he's, I mean, okay, I shouldn't say that because I understand if he's thinking about the fate of all of the elves, if that's what's motivating him. But I feel like the pride here is the issue. Why does it have to be a sneaky thing where he's like, we'll send Elrond, but Elrond doesn't know what he's doing. But somehow we're going to fix this. If he had just been like, hey, can we like beg and plead and ask our friends for some help?
Yeah.
Maybe that would have gone better.
Yeah, there's a line from a movie, and it's not really the movie doesn't really matter, but like there's a character that's trying to, and she says, how do you what's the best way to manipulate someone? And the answer is to honestly care about their feelings and want what's best for them. And she uses manipulate. Manipulate gets a bad, has a bad kind of connotation to it. But if you think about like we all do things that we all try and affect people the way that we want, we think is best for them. We don't call it manipulation, but it's definitely, we do try and help people. So like Meek said, if he came out and bid a little more forthright about it, would we all feel the same way? And to kind of give that nerdy background, there's not much of Gil-galad in the Silmarillion. We know his parentage questionable anyways. I'm not gonna talk about that part, but we know that he's the High King at the end with Elendil and Isildur, and he's there at the final fight with
Yeah.
So he's supposed to be this hero, like war hero, and this valiant leader, but he's not portraying any of that. And I think that's why Lyndon is so much of a dark spot for so many fans right now, because we don't see the character that we're supposed to see yet. And of course, we're not there yet, but maybe we're going to see more redemption from Gil-galad, but we just don't see it yet.
I feel like something's influencing him. I feel like there's gonna be a lot more. I don't know. I don't like the psych outs, and I feel I don't know. I feel like he's such a important character to like the lore and how they're presenting him. I just feel I don't know. Everybody loves Elrond, and I don't think they want us to like hate this guy, or I think they want us to hate him, and then they're just gonna be like, "Oh, but you didn't know this was happening," and then like another like is. I mean, that's essentially what this whole show and most fantasy is where you're just like you really feel something, and then they just pull the rug underneath you, like gotcha.
And, yeah, go on, Tim. Tyler.
Oh, that's fine. It's fine. No, that was pretty much it.
No, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think from a narrative standpoint, if we like we as people know where these characters end up, and if they were already there, that's not very compelling storytelling. So yeah, seeing Galadriel as this amazing, queen of Lorien at at the end. I mean, we know where she's going to be, but there's no story.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of Peter Jackson's dilemma with Aragorn. Is we have this man who has we know is 87 years old, has been the hardiest of raised to be the hardiest of men, and he is in the book ready to be the king, the king that returns. And Peter Jackson says, well, there's no character development there. So how do I get him from this to how do I get him from lowly ranger to daddy at the end of the movies? It's how do you do it, right? And he had to kind of do it that way. So I think that kind of is what we're seeing with Gil-galad and Galadriel is we're seeing these almost polar opposites of what the characters are supposed to end up being. So that when they do change, we can see the developments in the actual story instead of just being like, yeah, Gil-galad, he's kind of a badass. He's just the way he is. There's no tension there. There's no story.
Yep. Yeah, that was a good point because like even in the Hobbit movies, like the hobbits in the books, majority of them are just colored robes, like or cloaks. I mean, colored cloaks. That was
Dwarves,
it. Like that was the dwarves. I'm so sorry, the dwarves.
No,
And that was their personality was orange cloak, green cloak, and I like the fact that in the movies, yeah, and so I'm hoping I want to like Gil-galad. I think I don't know if it's just. I'm sure the actor is amazing, but I don't really like how they are writing. I don't like, I guess maybe the style of writing for him. I think maybe I've always wanted to see more playful elves. And I know that this is a really serious story and really serious, serious times and stuff like that. But I'm getting a little sick of seeing so much like I am an elf and everything is bright and everything. And I'm just like, give us a song, give us a silly song or a lute or something. Like
yeah.
I will say then the contrast of like when Gil-galad is being all like politician and like you're mining so much more, and Durin's like, okay, you want to mess with me? I'll mess with you back. Did you know this table is like sacred to us? And then later we find out he's just like, oh, Disa needs a new table. Like
Durin is just chaos, and I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, I think maybe more playfulness for. I
kind
think
of sum up no, sorry, Tyler.
No, you're fine. I feel like he is a little bit one note, and I think it is getting a little tiresome. If we have 5 seasons of it, I don't want Gil-galad to have the exact same expression the entire time.
No, I agree.
And
I
and I'm sure the actor is amazing. Like I'm sure, but like I feel like that that is the weakest character of the show because I feel like everybody else is so much. Where Gil-galad does have so much, they're just not emoting it enough, and it's just like because I feel like that whole thing where the lying and everything, the deceiving didn't hit me hard at all. It really was kind of like the second watch where I was just like, oh, that is like really bad.
I mean, I want to kind of compare it to Muriel right now. Muriel is trying to do what's best for her people, and she has this foreknowledge of what's going to happen. And she's trying to navigate this, the King's Men and the machinations, and then also this kind of insert of Galadriel and how it ran into her kind of storyline, and then her father telling her not to do these things, and she's trying to be hopeful. And then you've got Gil-galad, who, for all we know, believes that the elves are going to be, perishing by spring. And so I've been calling him Chicken Little because he just the sky is falling. So he's kind of just dealing with. he's panicking and he's trying to, he's like, well, maybe we send away Galadriel, that will fix the problem. Oh, that didn't work. Let's do this whole mithril infusion thing. Like maybe that'll work. And so he's going from like one crazy, like he's trying to grab onto
Like-
anything that he can to survive. And it's coming off as very schemy and not a good look for him. I
Disingenuous,
agree.
Yeah.
But Callie, what are your thoughts on Celebrimbor and Elrond?
I'm the host here, Jeff. You're not supposed to be
You've
asking.
been talking way too much.
No,
I want to
I
hear
love
your
it.
insights.
I know what I already know what my insights are, so I'm here to listen to your guys' insights. But to be fair, I know you're right. The listeners don't necessarily know what's in my head if I don't get it out of my head.
Mhm.
I think it would have been interesting if we had seen like Gil-galad sort of have some range and some humor and pick up on the fact that Durin was joking, and kind of go along with it, or give him the table anyway, or whatever. Like that could have been a bit of fun, but instead we just have him being like just this really creepy king, when he's a character that, at least from a lore perspective, that we're supposed to really like. But Tyler, I agree with what you think. A popular theory is that Anatad or Sauron is already in Lindon and is sort of like influencing them and lying to them and feeding them panic. And I kind of hope that is what's going on, and that's why he and Celebrimbor, who we're also supposed to like very much, but are acting a little bit sus right now.
Yeah, that's it makes sense because like the elves right now feel like we're here to save the world, and like so they're just kind of very blindsided. So sorry.
No, but you're right. But it's also, they're not there to save the world. They're kind of, Gil-galad and Celebrimbor are kind of looking out for themselves, because they're like, oh, well, if the elves aren't here to do it, then everything's lost. It's like, but you're kind of being dicks to everybody else to try and save them. It's intent doesn't matter when you're being like, at the end of the day, it's like Thanos, right? Thanos meant well, but his execution of how he did it destroyed half the universe. So like, what good is it if you get your goal and you destroy everything and burn it all down in the process?
Yeah, and I think that and I'm so sorry. I want to have you finish it. I apologize for interrupting you, Callie.
I'm off, Callie.
No, Tyler, please continue.
Well, okay. I only have one thing to say. I don't think we've met Sauron, and I don't think we will until next season, or unless like it's like they do an after credits thing. I just don't think we've met him. I don't think if they're gonna do really 5 seasons of this, they're gonna hold off on it. I think they want us to guess. I think they want us to but the only problem is it's gonna fall flat when you have one of the major story arcs. This is kind of where you don't really care about any of the characters except for like Elrond. I feel like Gil-galad is just so important. It's just way too important, and like everybody, we're all agreeing on he's so big on the lore. He means so much. But the thing is, if you're just hating on this character and he's not really growing, and it's just like feels like he's just falling face first into like the same trap over and over again. It's like it gets really, really dull, and I feel like that's gonna be, especially when Galadriel comes a lot more into play. That's not the storyline that needs to go stale. Like I feel like a lot of the other ones can kind of like the Harfoots need to be. I mean, they can keep doing their same thing and not really change a lot. I mean, everybody knows what's going to happen at Numenor. It's totally fine doing their own thing, but the thing is when you have Gil-galad, who is influential on Galadriel's whole journey, and then also where she's going to end up. He is also he's also a huge part of what's going to be happening with the Southlands too. Eventually, like he kind of is like the center focus of like a lot of he's connected with a lot of the major story arcs. And again, we don't know what's happening with the Stranger and a couple other things, but the thing is he's still tied to Galadriel, and like it's you can't have like you can't have a key player like that just be a little like everyone's like, oh, he's on screen,
Hates
cool,
him.
I'm gonna go get
Yeah.
some coffee. Like,
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely, it'll definitely be interesting to see if it picks up. I think it will. I don't think it's gonna stay the worst part of the show. Like, I hope not. I mean, that's what the consensus is, that everybody doesn't like the Linden storyline. And I think part of that is because it goes against a lot of the lore, so to speak. It kind of is making us question what we think of and what we know. Kind of talking about the mithril part of it. But yeah.
I
Amazon,
think
give him a loot. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think maybe then our takeaway can be, we have hope that character development and plot will bring about really great results that make us super interested and really connecting with these characters in this storyline.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of another character in like a popular in pop culture that we can kind of compare, like a character or two. And the one that's coming to mind is like Theon. If anybody watched Game of Thrones, Theon Greyjoy.
Oh yeah.
So
Wow.
So Theon is hated at the beginning of the show because he's, just this kid who basically he gives up Bran and he basically gets Robb Stark murdered, and all this stuff happens, and then he's responsible for Sansa and all this stuff happening, and then at the end he's on this redemption arc, and I'm not saying he ever redeems himself, but it's kind of the same thing. Like he's not the same person as he was at the beginning of the show, and everybody cares more about him because he had character growth, and so. I'm not saying it's exactly the right comparison, but that's the best one I can think of right now. I can't compare it to anybody in Star Wars because there's not really anybody like that fits in Star Wars.
I like that comparison, but I actually would have maybe said Bran, because Bran just kind of like he was like the biggest one. Like the whole show starts with him being pushed out of the tower, and then he just disappears for a season. We don't even know anything. Then he comes back, and then he's king. Like, I mean, it's kind of, but then Gil Galad's kind of like in that role where he's like, everybody's kind of tied with all of his actions and everything right now he's doing. Like, if he wasn't like, Galadriel, get out, like so much wouldn't have happened. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's, oh man, that's weird. Yeah.
So are we not going to talk about the story that we don't want to talk about?
I don't know. Are we, Kelly? What are your thoughts on it?
All right, we're not going to talk about the story that we don't want to talk about. Does anybody have any final burning thoughts? It's we have had a wonderful discussion, but I believe we are running out of time.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't really talked about Elrond and Durin much, and I think that, like Meek said, like Durin is just like chaos incarnate. Like, he's like, oh, you're gonna ask me all these great questions. Well, what about this table? It's like, and I knew right away. I was like, yeah, that table's nothing. But it's for, and it's just, but it's also great to see that, like, another thought is that, like, with Gil Galad, he could have been that douchebag king and been like, well, it's nothing to us. It's just a table to us. But he was like, I'm sorry, we'll make sure that you get it gets back to you where it can get the reference. So for him, he's like, he really believes it. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to give it back to you as a sign of goodwill. So that's like a little bit, maybe a glimmer of hope that maybe Gil Galad's not the terrible person we think he is. But yeah, we'll see.
I wouldn't say terrible. He's just boring.
Oh, well. And then we don't know what's going on with Celebrimbor, but I think that the big tension in that storyline right now is obviously Elrond and his oath, and I think that was kind of a big part of it as well. And I think that they're still trying to manipulate him a little bit with talking about his dad and playing him off of Durin and things like that. But we'll see how it goes.
Tyler, any
Oh,
overall
I was gonna let
thoughts?
Meeks go first. I really want to hear what
Meeks?
Meeks has to say, because I'm so scared that mine's like, I want to go. I'll save the worst for last. It's cool.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Intrigued.
Okay, well, I guess my final thought is coming back to kind of like overall best thoughts. Loved the ending with Galadriel in her full armor and seeing the awe
beautiful.
on everyone's face. Isildur staring at her with like the star eyes emoji. And I was over here with the heart eyes emoji. I was just like, she looks fantastic. Every cosplayer who does like the full armor look. I think they're the coolest, and I can't wait to see her in action, and she looks fantastic, and I loved it.
See, that's so much better than I'm gonna say. I just like this episode and I liked it a lot. I know I talked a lot of bad about Gil Galad, but I'm still hopeful. I don't have anything else to add. Like I said, I saved the worst for last. It's good. I give it 2 thumbs up.
That's very, I love it. I love it. That's positive. Yeah, no, I also am overall, I think at first the episode and the changes, I was looking at it, I don't know, I sometimes watch the show with a very critical mind, and sometimes I just watch it with like I'm gonna enjoy this mind. So if the lore stuff was a little admittedly jarring maybe, but overall, the more I think about it, the more, and then I've watched it like 5 times by now, and I start to feel a little more, I don't know, feel more generously, I guess, about where they're going to go, and took sort of put away that really critical hat and was just like, yeah, no, the changes, the story that we didn't talk about was a fun story. And the visuals of it were really neat. And mostly I'm just looking forward to more. That is the best way to sum up my thoughts after this episode. Was I'm looking forward to more. I want to see things come together. I want to see where, like, some of these ideas that they're sort of changing, I want to see how they come out in the grander scheme of things. And overall, yeah, I'm glad that we are all feeling positively about this. We're loving the show, and really, to sum it up, we want more. We want more.
Yes.
Don't stop. Yeah.
I love everything you just said.
We need an Arondir Galadriel team up.
Yeah.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
yeah.
Fantasy
Or
is just so
Halbrand,
hard to do.
and Arondir as well.
Yeah, it would be fun to see Halbrand fight.
Yeah. Is there anything that everybody's like really excited to see or hoping to see? I've been playing way too much Shadow of Mordor, so I'm like I just want to see more Celebrimbor. I don't know if anybody's ever played
Oh,
Shadow
no.
of Mordor, but he's like
So,
he's
in
like
the
the other
long
main
run-
character.
I'm not in a rush for his story to progress
In the
too
long
quickly.
run, I'm interested to see the reunion between Galadriel and Gil-galad and Elrond, because Elrond thinks he sent his best friend across the sea and out of this altogether, and Gil-galad might start thinking, I sent my best warrior and my champion away, and maybe she's going to come back and save the day. I don't know.
Good point, Jeff. Very good point. All right. So I think that is us for tonight. Listeners, thank you so much again for tuning in for another episode. If you want to join on these discussions, we'll have 3 more left. I can't believe that.
Oh yeah.
We're already like past the halfway mark at this point. But if you want to be part of this discussion, then you can contact me on TikTok and KaliCosplay. You can email voicesofArda@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Voices of Arda. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can just leave a comment under the video and I will get in touch with you. So, does everybody want, like, I always like to do a wrap up of everybody's socials, just to make sure that people can get in touch with you. So we'll start. How did we do it last time? We went Jeff, Tyler, Meeks. So yeah, we'll do that. We did that in reverse the first time, so we'll do it this time again.
I went
didn't
last,
make
so do I go
sense.
first?
That wasn't proper English. I'm very tired after an hour of
No,
talking.
you're fine.
You're right.
Jeff will go
middle,
first.
it was Middle English, which is perfect. Like it was middle earth. I don't know.
If you want to find me, I'm usually trolling in KnewBetta's live
is
section
true.
or anybody's live that's there. I'm the resident troll / gatekeeper. If you need to, if you're not nice, I kind of put you in your place. But
That was
I don't
you.
really
I'm
have
just kidding.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, no, I'm just Jeff. I don't really have that many. I don't have a channel. I don't
Just
create
Jeff.
stuff. I just consume. That's me.
Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you, Just Jeff.
That's
Tyler.
awesome. You're awesome.
You know
Hi,
you
I'm
are.
Tyler. You can find most of our stuff at through our show, Most Extreme Ranking Challenge, where it's extreme ranking on Twitter, TikTok. I also believe it's Instagram as well, and then on Facebook. But yeah, so
Awesome. Yeah. So that was Most Extreme Ranking Challenge. So be sure to check them out. They just did Meals of Middle Earth, which was hilarious.
Yes.
Hilarious.
Good.
You must watch these people eating these foods in cosplay. It's fantastic. Amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Oh yes, thank you. I'm so proud of it. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Oh man, it was. I think it took me 32 hours to edit that, like 25-minute video.
Well, I know what I'm doing after this. I'll watch that video.
Ooh.
And I am Fangirl Meegs on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and I'm excited to meet you if you come follow me.
Yeah, Fangirl Meegs, everyone give her a follow, and she makes the most positive and happy content, and just seeing her huge smile on my FYP almost makes my day. So yeah, definitely go follow everybody here. I will put links in the description of the YouTube video. So thanks again, Meegs, Tyler, and Jeff. And thanks again to the listeners. We will see you next week for episode 6. Bye.